Uh-oh. I'm using a VPN. Does that help? No. Uh, but yeah, I moved. So yeah, Ron, if you can't find a red state or a blue state, I just moved to Mexico instead.
Is it that much cheaper, the cost of living?
Yeah, like I would say I came from Raleigh, so not even San Francisco. Uh, San Miguel is an expensive city for Mexico, but even
Hmm.
compared to Raleigh, real estates and rents are cheaper, food is cheaper, everything, gas, electricity, and water, everything's cheaper.
And coming from North Carolina, you can't understand what the hell they're saying down there either. So that works out well. Ron, good to have you back. It's been a long time since you've been on. Good to see you. What's going on? Where are you?
Not much, not much. I am in San Francisco. I know when I
You're
did your
back.
podcast for many years, I was coming at you from Las Vegas,
Hmm.
and now I'm back among some more sane people.
Well, good to have you. And Mike, where are you?
I'm in beautiful Columbus, Ohio, at my office right now at Ohio State in between
Mm.
writers' meetings.
Oh, that's cool. Very, very
Yeah.
cool.
What
That's
kind of
right. I
writers'
forget
meetings go on in Columbus, Ohio?
Boring ones.
you.
Now, I oversee about a team of about a dozen writers at Ohio State. I personally write primarily for the Alumni Association, so speeches and stuff. And since commencement is coming up, I think my boss has 9 separate speaking events in the next 6 days. And so
You play the funny bone in Columbus?
I occasionally do the bone. There's a couple smaller, newer clubs that I play a lot. A place called Hashtag Comedy, which is awesome. It's kind of like the size and shape of the original Other Cafe.
Oh,
Just a
yeah.
little storefront room. I love it.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
I used to love that was one of my favorite rooms to play when I
yeah.
was on the road was the Columbus Funny Bone. And I'm from
Yeah,
Ohio. I don't know if you know that. I'm from Akron.
I do know that.
Well, when I was 5, we left, so I'd been in the
And hey,
Bay Area.
Brian, do you mind? I would just, Mike, what did you run for local office? Are you still interested in that? Is that a,
I am not interested in ever running again, but yes, I ran for Congress against Jim Jordan a number of years ago,
And he
but
beat you when
have
you
no
started.
desire to ever do that again.
So you could
But
have
it was a
saved
good
us from him.
experience.
You could have saved America from Jim Jordan potentially, but you didn't.
If we were transported to a different state that doesn't support Jim Jordan, maybe. But yeah,
So you're in
they
the same
love
district.
him
You're
in
in the
my
same.
little redneck portion of Ohio.
So you're in the same district. So what's he like as a? I know what he's like on the national stage. What's he like as a congressman? Do people love him there or something?
Oh,
The reason he
of
keeps getting
course
reelected?
they love him for the same reason the rest of us hate him, because he is a, xenophobic, underinformed, suck up to corporations and the far right.
what's
The
not
But
to
reasons why
love?
we don't like him or why they love him.
Trump did give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So,
He has more or less disappeared in Trump too, though. You don't hear much about him nowadays, but
well, he's chair of the Judiciary Committee, isn't he?
oversight, and there's not a lot of
Oversight, forgive me.
oversight to do when your party controls everything.
And when basically you're just going to capitulate to whatever the executive
Right,
branch
yeah.
wants. Yeah, good point.
He does better when he can rail against the evil progressives.
Hmm. Well, let's see. We got a lot to get into today, so let's. There's a lot of work today, so let's dive into it. As you all know, what we do on this podcast is we start by sending everybody a question that is specifically for you. You will answer the question first, and then we'll open it up and let everybody else chime in. Okay, so Mike, you were first up. 70% of respondents to a Fox poll on Monday said that they didn't believe that Saturday's assassination attempt was real. That was on Monday. So even after the arrest and still after the arraignment of the attempted shooter, Cole Thomas Allen, there, if you go on social media, go on Facebook, there are lots of people who are still posting that it's fake, even though he was arraigned, even though the manifesto came out with his rationale. Now, what the deal here is that usually these conspiracy theories, they come from the same group of people, basically, who the tinfoil hat nuts and the Pizzagate kooks and all of these kind of people. But this one, there are people who don't usually subscribe to conspiracy theories who don't believe that it was real. I mean, I'm talking about progressives, people who are educated, because usually this stuff doesn't work for progressives, or work on progressives, I should say, because generally progressives will fact check something. If they see something, they'll immediately fact check it if it looks off, and that's why they don't jump into this. Where on that fringe, they don't. They believe what the last meme was they saw. So why do you think that it's not just Pizzagate nuts on this? I mean, it's pretty obvious now that it was real.
That's an interesting take you have there, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
I think the poll is that 70% do not 100% believe the Secret Service's version of events.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it's not like everyone is saying it's flat out fake, but I think most people are saying it's not 100% true either. Right. It's that magic 30% that Trump, I think Abraham Lincoln said you can fool 30% of the people all the time. Right. So it's that magic 30% that believe the Secret Service version of events. Now, whether or not that means the whole thing was an elaborate musical theater production, mm-hmm. or that there was some complicity in knowing that someone was going to make an attempt, and they felt that that was in the president's interest to have that happen outside at a safe distance where no one gets hurt. Mm-hmm. I think that's plausible. I'm not a conspiracy guy at all.
No, me
but this is just one of the many ways where you can safely say Donald Trump does not pass the smell test. Okay. Everything that Trump does has a whiff of shit to it, right? So I think the reasonable mainstream point of view in this is it's not entirely true.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You could say that about the Secret Service or any governmental agency with anything like that. You could say it. Well, we know it about the Kennedy assassination, that the official narrative wasn't true. That, we don't know exactly what the real truth to this day is. You could say it about any large law enforcement kind of an operation, that there are things that are withheld or misrepresented. But I think when you look at what the behavior was afterwards, I mean, within minutes, they're literally minutes, they're going, this is why we need a ballroom.
Right.
This is why we need a ballroom. I'm talking minutes. And if you look at the pictures of cabinet members and people in Trump world who were in there, like minutes afterwards, once they're out of that room, out of that ballroom, they're like smiling and laughing and acting like they just came out of a party. Or something. And so that's just weird.
Nobody was saying, whew, that was a close one. Mm-hmm. We literally dodged a bullet. No one was saying that.
Well, because he got nowhere near them. He got nowhere near the room.
Which is why, if you were going to stage something, that's the way to do it, right? Where nobody gets hurt. It was also interesting, and I am not subscribing to one thing or another, other than everything Trump does is full of shit. That's the only thing I can say 100% is true.
Only thing you can count on. You can absolutely count on it.
Yeah, that I can say with complete confidence.
He says it's nighttime, stick your head outside and check.
and it's kind of like you said about them immediately jumping to, this is why we need the ballroom. So either they're just unbelievable about taking advantage of things like that. Maybe it's just that they're just so good at that, that turning that into this excuse for this ballroom, or it's kind of a fine line. Is it something else a little weirder? And we know every ICE shooting, the official story has never stood up to scrutiny.
Oh, never.
Right.
Never. Right. They're domestic terrorists. What are you talking? She's a mom. What are you talking about? They're domestic terrorists. Oh, before Brian, any investigation is done.
I have been to White House Correspondents' Dinners when I worked in D.C., and the security is epic. All right, and more so now, right? Mm-hmm. So that somebody is allowed to get an incredibly expensive hotel room at the Washington Hilton for the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and is able to get guns in.
He might have price lined it for all you know.
Right.
for 3 nights.
Do you know?
Why did he pick 3 nights? Why did he book for the night that he was? He knew he was going to be killed or be arrested. Why did he book a room for that night? That's what I don't
did
understand.
he pay for that night?
Yes.
His accommodations were taken care of that night.
Right. Well, he got the special CIA rate.
But did you hear? Didn't he himself say that, like, he commented on the how lax the security was that day,
Yes.
and that all he did was check in the day before, and apparently that evaded all security measures.
Yeah.
And you know what's the weird thing I connected that to? Early on in Mark Maron's WTF podcast, when he had President Obama on, and Obama came to his little neighborhood in Los Angeles.
And to his garage.
And sat in his garage. And I recall, I don't remember the details, but I do know that the Secret Service showed up days or a week before to scope out the whole neighborhood.
Well, they had snipers, he said. If you listen to that, it's a great interview, too, by the way, if you have never heard it. But apparently the Secret Service had snipers on his neighbor's roof across the street.
They do.
So they were there, way in advance. But
they're not normally there.
No, yeah. Well, the thing to keep in mind, too, though, is that Obama had more death threats than any president in history. They won't give the number. It's so many. But it did come out in recent days that there were 6 assassination attempts that were foiled by the Secret Service during his presidency. 6, Trump's wanted about 3. But there were 6 during Obama's. So, and, he didn't call himself a victim or go out. Hell, we didn't even know about it.
And those weren't crazy left-wing liberal crazies.
Hey, can you bring the rhetoric down, please? Can you just keep the rhetoric down? Ron, we haven't heard from you on this. Did you think it was real when you first heard about it? Did you think?
No, because we see day in and day out that the administration can't do anything.
Oh, Ron, you're breaking up. Your audio's breaking up on us.
Oh, well, I don't know.
There you go. That's better. Lean in.
Oh, okay. Well, hello.
Come a little closer, Ron.
Yes, come on.
So intimate.
I'd like to slow things down a little right now. I'll start playing a sax while you talk. Go ahead.
Well, we see day in and day out that this administration can't do anything. And so how are they even going to successfully stage an assassination attempt? But the thing is, hotels lately, on any given day, there's more and more security measures at almost any type of hotel. So you go in on a Tuesday, because you're on the road a lot. So you see this, you go on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And sometimes now some hotels require you to just buzz in before even the front doors open if it's like a smaller hotel. And then, of course, there's the elevator. And that's like any given day. So suddenly you have a gala going on. And none of these things exist at a very elite hotel. And also, we have these, you were just talking about the Obama assassination attempts that we didn't even know about. So I'm assuming that these people never got anywhere close to him. But we know about these 3 Trump assassination attempts. And it's funny, I'm 47. So I grew up, though, in a time where I think a lot of young people were not conspiracy theorists. But the Trump administration has definitely made me a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe anything. And I totally believe all of the assassination attempts were manufactured in some way. But, day in and day out, we have all these shootings. And unfortunately, these shootings are successful. But somehow these 3 assassination attempts are nowhere near successful. Why are we just getting the bad shooters? Like, why, it's very
Careful. Kathy Griffin, careful.
That's right. Well, I'm not condoning anything, but I'm just saying it just seems unrealistic. Everything about it seems unrealistic and unbelievable. And I don't believe anything. And
well, see, I have never bought conspiracy theories because if you think about it, you can't even throw a surprise party. You cannot ever. Have you ever thrown a surprise party or ever had somebody throw one for you that you didn't know about in advance? Ever.
But
so you can't even keep that a secret.
You don't have all the data because any really successful conspiracy that got pulled off, we never know about. If they get away with it, we never even know that it's a data point.
When is disclosure day? As a matter of fact.
Hey, I heard somebody brought up a really interesting point about the behavior of the Secret Service when the shooter runs by, and that what they said is that any well-trained group of Secret Service guys, they didn't behave properly, because when something like that happens, at least some of them should have turned and looked the opposite direction, because that could have been a distraction from what the real thing was. So when that guy ran by, this was an interesting point. He was just like, some Secret Service men should have looked 180 degrees in the other direction to see if this was just a distraction for a real threat.
A decoy. I didn't even think about that, but that would make a lot of sense.
Something on conspiracy theories. Mainstream news is never right the first time, right? No, when the first reports came out that he was dead, that the shooter had been killed. So to say the conspiracy theories are always false, facts, mainstream reporting is always false. It is
in a breaking story,
wrong the first time out of the gate.
But in a breaking story, that's what happens, is because the story is developing and the story is evolving. But they shouldn't. They report on things before they want to be.
But we forgive that wrongness, right? We say, "Oh, well, they didn't know." And so what I'm saying is, I don't think it is any less plausible to suggest that the administration story is not 100% true than it is to say that the news reporting is.
Well, no, it's apples and oranges, Mike. It's not the same thing. And I can say that having worked in newsrooms, because when the corporate media is wrong, it's because the story is breaking and information is coming out in dribs and drabs and people are finding things. When the administration or the president's press secretary puts out a statement, they've had time to craft that. They know what's what. They've had time to craft it. They know what the messaging is and what it is that they want to say. And that's a lot different than a shooting took place 10 minutes ago. And people are telling me, oh, wait, they're telling me in my ear that, that the shooter is down and he's dead. Oh, wait, no, he's not. Because you're getting information from all over the place and you got to distill it. And people are trying they're figuring out and breaking the story in real time. So you're going to get more misinformation at the very beginning, which is why it makes sense after something like this. Don't even turn on the TV or look at news reporting for at least a couple of hours afterwards, because it's going to change 3 or 4 times before they settle on what they think is having as much information as they're going to get during that broadcast. So, just a thought. Let's
Mike. It's apples and oranges, and I can say that because I do my own grocery shopping.
Says the single guy. Ron, on Monday, Melania Trump posted a diatribe against Jimmy Kimmel for a joke he did last Thursday when they were going to have a comic, or they didn't have a comic scheduled for the correspondence dinner on Saturday because they're so damn thin-skinned. So they got what is a mentalist, first of all? What is a mentalist? You lived in Vegas. What is a mentalist?
I've asked that question before, and it's just like humorist to me, I just really don't know. It's a guy that maybe reads minds or does mind tricks or what. It's really, a mentalist is what Midwestern tourists pay $300 to see because it sounds like a good idea, and then they leave there pissed off. That is pretty much what a mentalist does.
All right, so they have a mentalist who was scheduled. So Kimmel, who has hosted that event before, last Thursday night, did his own. He likened it to Kid Rock's alternative halftime show at the Super Bowl. He did an alternative correspondence dinner open, and he stood at a podium, and they had all the stock footage of everybody in the administration, everybody he mentioned. And when he got to Melania Trump, she said something, and I think I'm saying this correctly if I remember right. That she has the glow of an expectant widow. And so she, was saying that, he's corrosive and it's time that we don't let this into our homes anymore. And the implication was that because of that joke, that's why the assassination attempt happened, because on Thursday he did that joke and was basically telling people to get the president or to kill the president, which is bullshit. As he said in his response to this, that's not what he meant, and they know that's not what he meant. He was talking about their age difference. Trump is at 80 or almost, what is he, 79, going on 80, and she's like 53 or something. That's what it is he meant. They're calling on, and first of all, too, I want to mention, I don't think she wrote that. I don't believe it.
No.
You read it. She didn't write that. There's no way she wrote that.
Say, yeah.
That was the first thing. First thing I thought, I guess she didn't write this.
It was
Anyways,
stronger in the original Slovenian.
it was stronger when Michelle Obama said it the first time before she took it. Anyway, so they're calling on ABC to fire Kimmel again. And the chairman of the FCC, Brendan Carr, is now putting ABC through review over the license renewal process for all of the ABC owned and operated stations. Or actually, I should say owned station, even not operated. They're not due for this for several years. And he's doing it now. And the reason he's giving is because there may be diversity programs that they have that are illegal. So here is my question. When ABC, owned by Disney, pulled Kimmel last September, there was outrage and an automatic boycott of all things Disney. And what people were doing, they were canceling their Disney Plus, their Hulu, and their ESPN streaming services. 1.7 million in 6 days. 1.7 million cancellations in 6 days, and that's why they buckled. So I'm going to ask you is, if you're betting, what do you think that ABC does this time? Do they cave? Because they just signed into 2 additional years too.
They stay in it for a little bit of time because it's all in the numbers, right? That's all it is. I mean, when this all came down with Melania Trump writing this, once that hit, media, what was it, 4 million views in way less than 24 hours of the monologue, right? So now it's getting eyeballs on it. And of course, Disney or any corporation company like this is all about the numbers and what is it going to be in it for them. And they definitely don't want to lose another 1.7 million people. And, I think in some ways midterms play a hand in this as we get closer and closer to midterms and maybe the tide's changing and so forth, that people don't feel like that they have to latch on to the bullshit that much longer. And even if everything went to court, it'll be like, it would take forever to resolve something, if it went over like First Amendment rights or something like that. So I do think in this situation that Disney will hold on as long as possible because they don't want to take a hit to subscribers and all of that.
Well, the one thing is that when you mention First Amendment, when you're working for somebody and you're actually on their clock, you really don't have First Amendment rights. If you were, Mike, you're at that at Ohio State. I'm sure that there are things that you are not allowed to say on campus that you can say on stage or that you can say in your personal life. So the First Amendment, I
No
don't
comment.
think. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but he didn't say anything then on his broadcast that he couldn't say that was outside of FCC regulations or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I would think that maybe at that point, like there is some sort of First Amendment, rules that apply. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer and I don't work like too deep into it. But I mean, I think they will be a little different than CBS. I mean, you hope for the best. I think Kimmel is the best thing that late night's got going for it. And it has nothing to do with his, of course, I agree with Kimmel in pretty much like a lot of things that he says and where he stands politically. But outside of it, I just think he's a very good comic who puts on a good show if we strip all of that away. And I do, as a comedian and someone who books talent at comedy clubs, there's always a fine line too, right? Between using your platform and speaking about what you believe in. And because what's your job as an entertainer? Your job as an entertainer is, if you're a comedian, to make people laugh, to entertain. And so there's always a fine line. And I think Kimmel straddles that line. Like, he does a really good job at it. And at the end of the day, if you don't like what he's saying, you don't have to watch it. But the proof is in the numbers that a lot of people do. And I think Disney is going to hold on to that. And they're going to just sort of like revel in all the attention that it is bringing them up to a certain point.
All right, Brian.
I guess we know it's pretty well established at this point. If the GOP has a brand, hypocrisy, it's probably it's the best candidate I can come up with for a brand. And I just think about that time. It seems so long ago. Was it just after the inauguration when Elon Musk said that thing about how comedy is back? They've always been so, they've always liked to hit the left on not having a sense of humor. even though almost all comedians come from the left, but also where they are constantly proving this. In 1 minute, they're criticizing the left for getting upset at things that are said. And of course, and you know, when it comes to people dying and comments that are made, and then they do it so much worse, and they also get offended so much worse. Like this, it's like, walk it off. This is not even that harsh a joke.
Well, even more than that, you know, when you look at this and she's calling for civility and, you know, his rhetoric and all of this kind of crap. And it's like, you know, what he said, what his response, why don't you have a conversation with your husband? I mean, he's the one that is demonizing, you know, the entire news media and journalists as vermin and enemies of the state. And, you know, the brush that he paints his perceived opponents with, which is pretty much putting it with the nuts that follow him. Let's put a target on their backs.
I mean, every day you can see something, you know, that he said, like just like, let's say, like Quiet Piggy, who you want to have civility, but then he's telling, you know, a journalist like Quiet Piggy, or just when he goes online and says things about Robert Mueller's death or Rob Reiner, you know, you know, journalists and, you know, immigrants and women. I mean, every day, there's not one day that goes by that you can't pull an example, but suddenly she wants civility.
He's got a derogatory nickname for everyone. And also, you just reminded me of how just anytime a press person asks a question, before he even comes close to answering it, he has to call their network fake news and them a horrible reporter. You're a disgraceful person and a terrible reporter, and you work for CNN fake news. Now, as to what you said.
I mean, he just did it the other day with the 60 Minutes interview too, you know?
Nora O'Donnell?
Yeah.
Well, here's what I love about that. Because the questions what she did was she read from the manifesto when and I'm paraphrasing here, said that he's, you know, tired of living under, how do we put it, under the shadow of or being tainted with, what did he say, a pedophile, rapist. And so she reads that. And Trump says, you're disgraceful. I knew you were going to read that. You're disgraceful. Then she says, and he cuts her off. Wait a minute, I didn't say it was you. I didn't mention your name.
Talking about you, you know.
Did you catch that? You know.
Great.
What was the other
Brian,
thing? Yeah.
On the Kimmel thing, 2 points. One is that the people who are complaining about Kimmel are non-viewers. So the network doesn't care as much about non-viewers not liking the show. But the bigger point is that Kimmel is about to get a windfall of new viewers when Colbert leaves the air, right? They're not going to Fallon. They're going to Kimmel, those that are going to stick around for that sort of thing.
They could stay for Byron Allen.
Right now, Kimmel is in like the perfect position. Also, Disney has a new CEO who is very much about appealing to a younger, hipper audience. So I just think business-wise, he's not in danger.
The people that do follow Kimmel and watch Kimmel, of course, like you said, right? Like, they don't care about the non-viewers, but it's those viewers and those people that are type that will boycott companies that get rid of their DEI, you know, they will boycott Target. They definitely, this generation that watches Kimmel, I believe, they boycott and they make their voices heard, and that's what they don't want to lose. So I think, you know, I thought that the ball is in his court, but I think it's looking good, and yeah.
Okay. And what is remarkable about Kimmel? Remember, he was not some hair on fire progressive at any point, right? I mean, his background was Adam Carolla and Ben Stein. You know, he was hired as a bro, not as like a political person. He has kind of evolved into this.
Well, he wasn't a comic, if you want to look at what his background was. Because we had
very funny.
We had the same manager for a real long time, and he was radio, and then he got When Ben Stein's Money, and then the Man Show, which was
Show, yes,
busty women jumping up and down on the trampoline, and he goes from that to arguments with the president. So he has evolved. He's definitely evolved, and he does. Well, he and Colbert both do some of the sharpest political commentary being done right now, I think.
And Kimmel still appeals to that very middle America kind of a similar audience to who Joe Rogan appeals to, just in a very different political sense because of that Man Show pedigree. So yeah, I think ABC feels that they lucked out with him as a host.
Okay, so what about the threat of the FCC? Because they can make things the FCC can make things very, very difficult for ABC if they want to, because there, as you said earlier, Brian, there is no oversight, no real oversight. And there's this whole idea that really doesn't apply anymore, that the airwaves are supposed to belong to the people. And clearly and obviously that's not true. It's like five companies own every radio and television station in America, 5 or 6 companies, all with consolidation. So so that's, if anything made them cave, it would be what the FCC does. But I just don't. Disney can suck it up for a while. Disney, is a global. What do I call it? What is it? A 600-pound gorilla? It's more. It's more. It's 6,000-pound gorilla. Disney is. So it's not like they can't absorb the loss. I mean, they're not going to like it, and that 1.7 million would probably eventually come back. You wait till the new Spider-Man movie comes out and it's on Disney Plus. You're on Disney Plus again. Yeah. So
you gotta love the Republicans' targets now are the Pope, Disney. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's what I say. If you can't get along with Canada and Denmark and the Pope, maybe you're the asshole.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, your turn. And this is a good one for you, being involved in science, in the science world as you are. This is a story that's not getting very much play, and I'm not surprised because of when they did it and what the subject matter is, but I think that it's important, and I want you to tell me what's important about it. So last Friday, without cause, without warning, without any explanation as to why, this Trump administration fired all 22 members of the National Science Board, which oversees the National Science Foundation. So the scientific community is up in arms over this, and they're saying that this is an attempt to get rid of independent research oversight and to politicize the foundation's decisions in a step towards disrupting evidence-based decision making. So my question for you is this: what do you think that the Trump administration, or MAGA, gains from this move? And do you think that it jeopardizes America's position in the world as a leader in scientific research? Especially when you add this to all of the qualified people and all of the researchers and research projects that Robert Kennedy Jr. has axed.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a problem for science, and it just. These are just a continuation of patterns. This isn't unlike RFK letting go that entire vaccine advisory panel.
And replacing them with anti-vaxxers.
Yeah. And in a way that, when he first came into office and he fired all those regulators and all sorts of oversight everywhere. As far as what does the administration get out of it? This is one of the things from the very beginning that bothered me. The cuts to science, the cuts to medical research and reporting, like monitoring, reporting, investments in medical research and other sciences. There are some things that we could disagree on. Like there could be some Trump decisions where they claim it's going to be more efficient, save money, and maybe some things are debatable. Mm-hmm. But then there's this whole other group of things, like these science cuts and medical cuts, that I don't see that you can come up with an answer for cutting NASA's science budget, cutting medical research budgets. I don't see an even possible upside to it, so that it leaves you thinking that they're trying to cause harm. They're trying to do damage to the United States, and because all the cuts they're doing to science absolutely are, like, everyone in the science community thinks we're already being set back, not even just years, decades. There's no easy recovery from this stuff, because once you cut certain programs, it's not like you can turn them right back on again. The people dissipate. They go to different things. Some of them leave the country, but all of them move on to different things. And you can't just reassemble these long-term projects. So like, I don't know. I don't like to be a conspiracy theorist, but when you look at things through the lens of, are they trying to damage America? Things start to make a little more sense. It's like, well, everything fits that pattern pretty well. Because
what
they're doing a
end?
good job of it.
But Brian, to what end? That's the thing I can't figure out. I mean,
Well,
what do you get by cutting and stopping research for cancer research or
yeah.
Parkinson's
Well, the
research?
damage part would be like he's doing Putin's bidding or something like that. That the idea is just to set the United States back, hurt people, kill people. Another solution is that they only care about hurting the lower classes. Um, Everything will always work out well for the upper classes. And, you know, when you sell off government stuff and let rich people take possession of it, sell off, look what they're doing to the Forest Department and just shuttering all these research labs and facilities around the world. And they want to like sell off. So like you take this thing that's a public good, this land that's been preserved and held as something very special, and just sell it off for mining. And that's only going to benefit this rarefied stratosphere. These few people will benefit from it, and all of us suffer this loss. Same with data centers in these communities. These communities are being destroyed, but a few people at the top are getting very rich. So if it's not doing the bidding of Putin, it could just be privatizing everything. And maybe it's in line with, so there is this idea that this board was set up, I guess, in 1950. And the people serve staggered 6-year terms. So they cut across administrations with the idea being, but we see how well it's worked out with the Supreme Court, how no one should be able to fill all those positions because they're staggered, they go across terms, and people are selected to be unbiased and just to be for the good of science. So he just let all of them go. Theoretically, he can't really dissolve the board because Congress created it. But I don't know. But every time we say he can't do that, I get frustrated with people saying he can't do it. And well, he just did. So we don't know right now, like the board isn't dissolved, but everyone that was on it was let go. So what does that mean?
Well, see, here's the thing again that I
and is it a Project 2025 thing where they're just going to put loyalists in there and they're just going to they're going to stop funding things, you know, for some reason. I don't know. It's so confusing because you think about, like, obviously we have an issue with the perception of mRNA technology and with the COVID vaccine. But in the science world, step back a couple years when this was like the COVID vaccine was proof that this was a powerful technology, and immediately hundreds of other vaccines and medicines based on mRNA technology were in development. And they want to shut down all mRNA. You know, that to them, mRNA is a bad word and we don't want to do any of this. It's evil. And it's like, this is some of the most promising medical technology in our lifetime.
See, I don't see how this benefits the wealthy because rich people get cancer too. Rich people get Parkinson's too. Trump has dementia. Clearly, he's got Alzheimer's or something. The way you know the sun, you see him sunsetting and the rage tweeting and the rage posts on Truth Social in the middle of the night. So you know this is research that cuts across age, race, social status, economic status. You know, all people get these diseases.
So what do you think? So then
I don't know. I can't.
I know, it's very confusing.
I can't figure it out.
It's regulations, though, right? Government scientists are the people who tell us that glyphosates are ruining the environment at a time when Bayer is getting the United States to take down their warnings against Roundup, right? I mean, that's government scientists that drive that stuff. Government scientists tell us about climate change. So that's part of it, and that is bottom line. The other part of it is that so much of this administration is run by pure cruelty and sticking it to the libs. So anything that's going to upset the libs for them is good policy. And if it means that a bunch of pencil neck geeks like Brian Mallow have to go get another job, oh, bonus. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the scary thing about it. It's not even political ideology so much as it's just cruelty and idiocy.
And
Ron?
maybe they don't think beyond the hurting them, and
Yeah.
they don't see beyond to the point of that might hurt them as well. I don't know. I thought on the terms of like whatever cancer research, medical research, the thoughts I've had months ago were that, well, they'll go get the best medical treatment possible in every other country.
That's true.
But we are, but you know, but there's no getting away from the idea that, you know, the US isn't the best at everything. And I'm sure that in different areas of medicine, it's kind of spread, but the US has historically been a hell of a leader in science and medicine. And so you are, if you're a billionaire and rich, you are giving up something if American medicine isn't progressing the way it should.
Well, but also along with that, more than that, the point that we forgot, and that is that America has always attracted the best and the brightest from other countries if they want to do research or if they want to work on scientific progress. They would come to America. Well, now, you know, tell me what scientist in Hong Kong is going to come to work in the United States now. You know, when there are other countries that are much more, I'm trying to think of the right word, much more amenable to progress and evidence-based research. Ron, you haven't had a say on this.
Well, you know, I definitely believe in the point that it is somewhat partisan. Anything that left or liberals believe in, they're more than happy to strip it away and stick it to us. I tend to, among the topic of science and vaccines, almost like keep quiet, because if I don't keep quiet, I will freak out. And you probably remember this, Brian. I was on your podcast a lot during the more pinnacle years of the pandemic, and my dad died of COVID. My dad died of COVID before the vaccine came out. The time that it was very, you know, we didn't know what was happening, but science was moving and they were moving rapidly. And then, of course, on the other hand, you got Trump and a Republican starting to refute science. And that pissed me off because my dad, I believe at that time, had the Fox News background, you know, in him. And while the vaccine wasn't released yet, I do believe that they were being steered in some alternative directions because of the rhetoric. And now that has definitely amplified 6 years down the line in much more extreme levels. So anything where we start to not believe in science and strip away really pisses me off. and it pisses me off a lot. And because I do believe it, I get kind of flustered and angry around topics like this.
Well, I know if you don't mind me, do you mind if I mention the circumstances? Because you did go through that with it. We started this podcast during the pandemic for something to do, you know, over Zoom because we were all on lockdown. So it was if and correct me if I'm wrong, your dad was a big Fox News guy and was MAGA. He was actually MAGA. Or no?
He was what?
He was actually MAGA or no? Or MAGA adjacent?
Here's the thing. I'm not that. Here's the weird thing about, and you know, my mom's side of my family and my dad's side of the family, you know, they've been divorced for a long time. But both sides is very interesting that growing up, they didn't have a lot of strong political views. I'm not even sure if they even voted. They just kind of put their head down. It was very middle class, working family, live your life, don't get too involved in anything. But then they started around MAGA times to get influenced by people. And it just felt like these repetitive, you know, talking points. And I believe, you know, my mom's side of the family was influenced by one person, I believe my uncle. And then my dad's side of the family, he was influenced, I believe, by his girlfriend. And, you know, love makes you do weird things. And so he actually purchased a house in March of 2020 for them. And he spent the first part of the pandemic fixing it up. But she led him to believe that, nothing was wrong. And there was this, Fox and all, they believed all that and they went to Thanksgiving dinner.
They were saying that COVID was a hoax at that in the beginning. First, it was a hoax.
Yeah.
Then they were downplaying masks and everything else. And so your dad goes to Thanksgiving at his girlfriend's house and gets COVID.
Yes. Well, the thing is, she was a hairdresser and went back to work, didn't believe in masks, all this stuff.
Did she get it? Did she ever get it?
Everybody at that dinner got it. From what I understand.
How many?
He's the only one that died.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Well, there was a point that I wanted to say here too about it, but I gotta get so. Talking about if my dad was MAGA or not, I don't know if he was MAGA, Jason, full on MAGA, but one very funny thing about this story is the night that my dad died, I went to his Facebook wall, and I don't remember the exact timing, but let's say my dad died around 8 p.m. Okay, at 11 p.m. he posted an anti-Nancy Pelosi meme. And I'm like, how is my dad MAGA-ing from the dead? Is MAGA that powerful and that strong? Like, what is happening here? And at that point, I've questioned everything. I started believing in conspiracies. Who's controlling what's happening? It really effed me up. The whole COVID situation effed me up beyond just the fact of losing my dad and never being able to have any closure with it either, because during that time you couldn't have, my family always had funerals, they always had wakes and repast dinners, and we couldn't do any of that. And so to this day, I know what happened. I see his urn, but it's like it never happened because I wasn't able to go through those steps. And then there was so much ambiguity. You know what I'm trying to say? Ambiguity. Thank you. I couldn't get that. Around the process and the situation, and I just get angry. And I still believe in my heart that if the vaccine was released while he was still alive, that he would have gotten it. And maybe it's because of a few pre-existing conditions and so forth, but I do believe that he had just retired in March 2020. I do believe he had that kind of newfound zest for life that comes with retirement and working hard and trying to to live your life. And so I do believe in my heart that he would have gotten it, and it pisses me off that he didn't have that opportunity because he obviously gave into some misinformation. And this is what both my parents dating at a very later age in life. It's very interesting to see that you still become an 18-year-old in your late 60s and early 70s, where you start to turn a blind eye and everything that maybe you thought that you believed in before no longer exists. If the other person, you just kind of give in and do what the other, and I've seen it on both sides, and it's very interesting.
Ron, have you ever had a chance to talk to Lori Kilmartin about, I guess you have this in common. She lost her mother, I think also before the vaccine.
She lost her mother just a little bit before me. And we were both doing a lot of Zoom shows at the time. And of course, I didn't want anybody to think that I was copying her because she's such a powerhouse. But I was doing a lot of Dead Dad COVID material. And what was interesting about that too is I was doing it from not only being cathartic for me, but I think it was cathartic for a lot of people. Even if they didn't have someone that died of COVID, they still have had someone in their life, die. It's just like when you're on stage and you talk about relationships or something. Everybody's had a great relationship and a really shitty relationship. And, it might not have to be the same situation, but they can identify and relate to that, And so I was trying to do that. I would never, and my rules for that too, is that I'm not making fun of anybody dying of COVID. I'm not, but there were there were very, for instance, my lead in with that all the time was talking about how they got it at Thanksgiving dinner. And everybody at Thanksgiving dinner got it. And my dad was the only one that got it bad enough he died. And the worst part of the story is the turkey was dry. And and so I would try to poke fun at it in ways like that, but still go through the experience of what I was, feeling. I mean, I poked fun at the idea that good people would try to call on help, but it was often misguided. One person literally called me and said, And this is what's interesting about all the rhetoric, right? One person who I believe was on the side of left and liberal, called and said, don't listen to the doctors. They really don't know what's going on yet. But here's the thing. You should give your dad a little bit of lime, celery, and an onion, and do that once a day. And I go, bitch, that's how you garnish a Bloody Mary. That is not how. The whole time being of such a mind, and I get very angry and perplexed and confused anytime I talk about it. And when these things about science come up, it just rehashes that and brings that over and over and over. So I believe in science. I believe in doctors. I get vaccines all the time. I got my COVID vaccines. I got my boosters. I got.
I'm getting one. I'm getting one right after we're done. I got an appointment for a Hep B.
I'm doing one right now off camera.
Wow.
But the thing is, they make it more difficult, and that's another thing about this government. It used to be able to you could just stroll into Kaiser, and it was fun, and now they make it increasingly more difficult. Just
just go to the drugstore. You get it's still easy at like CVS and stuff. Just go to the drugstore.
Hey, wait, Ron just said, you said that they said like early on in COVID, don't listen to the doctors and scientists because they don't know. So, but built into that is like, oh, so I should listen to YouTubers instead. It's like, yeah, we don't have enough information. I'm still going to listen to the scientists and the doctors, the low information scientists and doctors rather than YouTubers.
Oh God.
Well, and it's so funny. Like, what was one of the drug name, like remdesivir, I believe, was something going around there in that time. And, there were conflicting reports about help. And they asked me about it. And I go, I don't care what you do. I believe in science. I believe in miracles. Give him remdesivir. Give him something else. My dad's a 70-year-old man. Put 2 Hooters girls in the room. If that wakes him up, great. Like, I don't care. Just do what you think is right.
It's the dumbing down of America. I don't know how we got to the place where to be an expert in something was a bad thing. You look at every cabinet position. I mean, I'm still shaking my head that we're at war with Iran, and Iran is the world's leading sponsor of terror. Yet the head of domestic terrorism is a 22-year-old who has no experience whatsoever. His last 2 jobs were as a landscaper and a courtesy clerk at the grocery store, and he's in charge. His number 2 is a 29-year-old bimbette, also with no experience, who just had to step down because she is on sugar daddy websites.
Hey, and what a testament! What a testament is this to the administration? I thought 100% you were about to say we enter into a war with Iran and he let go of the head of the Navy, because there are 10 different things you could have said there that are equally horrific.
Well, the Joint Chiefs.
They also got rid of all their Farsi experts, right? But everyone who could actually communicate with the Iranians, they fired before the war. They got rid of the entire minesweeping unit that was based in the Persian Gulf before the war. Yeah.
Is there any chance, has it filtered down to the level, they've let go all these top military people, but what about the Secret Service? Is part of that failure, is it all the way down to the level of the actual Secret Service agents? I
believe that they are under the auspices of the Department of Homeland Security, and Homeland Security is a mess right now, obviously, as you see with ICE. By the way, too, one of the things what did he say this? Did he say this in I don't know if he said this into a mic or if it was a Truth Social post, but he's talking about changing the name of ICE to NICE.
Yeah.
Yes. It just needs a rebranding. That's the only problem. That's why people don't like ICE, is because
Secret Service is actually part of the Treasury Department, but
oh, really?
But they are also chosen by each president, those officers, and they tend, and especially in Trump's case, they didn't want any officers that had served Biden, even though they are apolitical people. So everything they do a litmus test. So yeah, I'm sure they have plenty of people who are not as qualified, but because they salute the boss, they're in. So
let's move on to this. James Comey, former FBI director, was indicted again yesterday for the second time. He was indicted Trump got the DOJ to indict him last year, and it was thrown out by a federal court judge. And so the indictment yesterday on charges of threatening the president and transmitting a threat across state lines. And what this was in relation to, May of last year, Comey's on vacation. My understanding is he's walking along the beach and he sees a seashell formation that says 88647. And so he takes a picture of it, he posts it, and then somebody told him or somebody commented that 86 could refer, when I think of 86, kind of like a death, but that it could also refer to, kill them. And I've never heard. I mean, get smart. He was Agent 86. It means get out of here. So it's a restaurant term. I understand where it came from.
I've worked in restaurants, but I've never been a Navy SEAL, for instance.
So they anyway. So he posts it. He takes it down immediately when he finds out it could mean something else. And the Trump and the administration are saying that it was a death threat towards the president. And so, and the biggest thing that they're going to have to prove is intent. And I don't know how you prove intent that's how he intended it. So
he only shared it. He didn't do it.
No, he didn't do it. So when you hear 86, what do you think of? Do you think kill? I think get smarter. I think get out of here. Or we got rid of it. Not that anybody got hurt or as a call to violence. And I don't think they believe it either. They just want to. He's just got a hard on against Comey and won't let it go until he makes his life hell.
As a restaurant employee for many, many, many years, none of that is what I think of when you say 86. When you say 86, I think, oh shit, we're out of ranch dressing. Like that is, what I think of, like what 86. So never in my mind would that even occur. That was a thing. I would just, and who knows what to me, I would think that seashell formation is maybe somebody spelling out a cute anniversary date or something. I don't know. That's just not the thing that comes to my mind.
No, it would have been 6947 if it were an anniversary date.
And also remember, Trump posted a meme of Joe Biden being hogtied, right? And
that's right.
On that, it said 8646 was a part of that message.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, it's so ridiculous.
They could combine that into one
after
case.
6-7.
I'm sorry. One more time.
I said next they're going after 6-7.
That means absolutely nothing. Let's see.
Classic.
New passports are coming out for the 250th anniversary of America, and they're going to have Donald Trump's face on them. So he is putting his face all over everything. He's building all these monuments to himself: the Arc de Trump, the Trump Kennedy Center, his face on a coin. They're talking about a $250 bill, because of the 250th anniversary with Trump on the $250 bill. So I heard a pundit say something yesterday I thought was kind of interesting on what your take on that. He's building all these monuments to himself, and is there a possibility that this is some self-awareness? Because the self-awareness being that he knows that once he's in office, nobody's going to be building, naming stuff after him. Nobody's going to build anything in his honor. And history is going to see him for exactly what it is that he truly is. So he's thinking that I need to, if I ever want it done, I need to do it myself now. And even if they start taking stuff down and scrubbing my name after I'm gone, they're not going to be able to scrub my name from things as easily as I was able to put my name on things. Because they'll do it right. They'll go through the correct procedure, and it won't be all loyalists who sign off on all this stuff. So
do you think he has that kind of self-awareness?
That's my question to you. Do you? None of you.
I don't know that it's. I don't know if it's necessary, because you can just go based on his egotistical ways of just wanting his name and face on everything. Is a simple enough, believable enough explanation.
It's no deeper.
If you ask a 7-year-old what would they do if they were president, they would say, I'd build a big arch and I'd put my name on the money and I would put myself on Mount Rushmore.
Exactly.
And I would make Bananas illegal. You know.
Okay, if we can't make them illegal, they're now going to be called Trumps.
Right.
Hamburger and Trumps. Remember when they were pissed at
this
the
is a
French,
thing.
so they changed the name of French fries to Freedom Fries?
Exactly. This is something that's bothered me from the very beginning. It's the not really knowing what their real motivations are, like in terms of just movements in a fascist direction. You're like, how far do they actually want to take it? Do they want to take it full on Nazi Germany, or what? It's the not, like, we have a general sense that they're up to no good, and especially Stephen Miller, but you can't even say especially about just one of them.
He looks like Adolf Eichmann, doesn't he? Doesn't he look like Adolf Eichmann?
But you just don't know how. That's the thing that's always gotten me. It's like this thing about the science. Why are they doing this? Why are you celebrating this big NASA win with Artemis 2 at the same time that you're continuing to try to cut away its budget and its science budget? It's like, what? That's been the thing. It's like, I hope we discover eventually absolutely what their real motivations are.
I hope we don't. But I just hope we're able to,
I mean, in retrospect, somehow.
Oh, okay. Well, because what's the end game?
Hotel on the moon.
That's another thing. He's talking about returning to the moon while cutting NASA's budget.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense.
That's why.
Well, one of the things is, it seems like they really want to cut away science, but exploration, it's this different thing. It's like they want to continue these moon missions, but decimate all these science projects, including projects that involve, a lot of NASA stuff is satellites looking back at Earth and, monitoring the environment and climate, and they really want to get rid of all the science. And I have a pet peeve about, people like to say, oh, it's the privatization thing. And in this case, Elon Musk, SpaceX can do everything NASA does and cheaper. Well, that isn't even remotely true. SpaceX really has been a remarkable force for bringing down the cost of space flight, for all these little to low Earth orbit missions and everything. But SpaceX doesn't do any science. That's not science. This isn't a criticism. That's engineering. That's building spacecraft and these missions. But NASA has just massive science projects that are about, basic fundamental research, origin of the universe, stars, galaxies, the planet, science projects. And SpaceX doesn't do that at all. Not even at all, period.
And there's so much science that needs to be done in zero gravity, that the space program, with just being up there, I know there's a big space program here at Ohio State, and so much of it is just zero gravity science, the things that you can do, pharmacological research, all these things that work better in zero gravity.
Well, we're coming up on the end of the podcast, so I do want to make sure that I throw this in.
Is it about the Michael Jackson movie?
Yes. You knew where I was going because you've been following me on Facebook.
I was gonna give you shit if you didn't bring it up.
Oh, of course I'm bringing it up. Okay, so I saw it. Okay, I saw it on Saturday, and after reading the critics just absolutely trashed it, and because of the fact that it doesn't mention any of the allegations, any of the molestation allegations, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I know that a lot of it was horseshit, but most music biopics are. And I came back and I posted it. And I had people, some posted, others emailed me, saying that, seeing that as an endorsement of pedophilia, or it's a slap in the face of the accusers. And it's like, how? First of all, the key word there is accuser. He was, but let me be straight on this. I do believe that they're telling the truth. And at the very least, he admitted that he slept with children. And that's the thing, too, in this conversation, it never comes up. How come nobody has slapped any of these parents? What parent lets their minor kid, sleep with a 40-something-year-old man who is not, like their dad or a close relative? Who does that? I don't care how famous they are.
Not a random 47-year-old man, Michael Jackson.
but still. So I went and I saw it, and I liked it so much I saw it again. My daughter wanted to see it. I saw it again on Monday, and I liked it even more. I mean, it's a jukebox musical, and what people
Father exposes daughter to pedophilia. Go on.
yes, yes. Well, you know what the original framework of that movie was. Originally, it opened, and they shot this with the raid on Neverland Ranch in '93 after the first allegation. The raid on Neverland Ranch, and the whole third act was supposed to go into that case. So they did it, they shot it, they wrapped it, everybody went home, and then somebody read the settlement agreement that was made with the accuser, and in it there's an NDA that says that case cannot be discussed in a film, on a television show, nothing, it cannot be portrayed. So they had to come back, and at a cost of literally tens of millions of dollars, they had to rewrite, and they had to have a whole different, engine that drove that whole movie, and do reshoots. And they changed the main theme of it from, I guess that theme was supposed to be, how did we get to this? How did he get to here? I think that was what that original theme was. And it turned out being how he asserted himself finally to break away from his father. That's what they turned it into. But people are just, there are some people who are just absolutely furious that it did $300 million this first weekend. $300 million the first weekend, which it cost $200 million to make. So they're almost in the black. It's got to gross 4, I guess. And so let me ask, so the question is this, is the criticism of people who are going to see that movie. And by the way, the audience is, I think Rotten Tomatoes is 33%, and Rotten Tomatoes is critics, but the audiences give it an A- on an A to F grade. So is seeing that movie or supporting that film, and if you're seeing it, you're supporting it because you're paying for it, is that an endorsement of pedophilia, child molestation? Is it a slap in the face to the accusers? Because part of this is they want to rehabilitate his image because it makes the IP more valuable.
Well, I'm glad it has some success because my screenplay, Adolf Hitler, Young Artist, is moving its way through Hollywood, and we don't get into World War II because really it's about his art. So I'm hoping. I think the people, of course, the people who go see that movie approve of that movie. Right? The people who are offended by it aren't going to go. But I am one who says I can appreciate art while condemning the artist. All right. Exactly. The Harry Potter books are still well-written books, even though I think J.K. Rowling has revealed herself to be a really horrible person. All right. So I won't go see the movie for that reason, that I don't want to support this whitewashing of Michael. If anything, Michael Jackson approves of its whitewashing.
Yeah, he did enough of it himself.
Well, that is unfair. It's vitiligo. It is vitiligo, and he poured makeup over it in order to even his skin out. And I didn't know that.
Well, I will go out on a limb in being unfair to Michael Jackson for what he did to children. I don't feel like I have to pull punches for that guy.
See, that's the problem.
Not alleged. Come on, he built an amusement park, and he walked around with alcohol in a soda can and gave it to children.
Allegedly.
Had he not had musical talent, we would have called it what it was. Oop, there's just a... Oh, sorry. I have these automatic lights in this room just went out.
I was going to say, is it last call? There's a last call. I believe that what they're accusing is true. I believe that what they're accusing is probably true. However, it's still accusations do not, and that's the problem when we come to issues like this, is I always say it's a bell that can't be unrung once you're accused. Because even if, like Nate Parker, who did Birth of a Nation, or rape, those two things, like Nate Parker, Birth of a Nation, it was supposed to be the biggest movie when it was the highest sale for a movie at Sundance ever. Sony bought it. They expected this first time director to get Best Director Oscar nomination for it. Then between the time it was sold and between the time it was supposed to be released, it comes out that he and his best friend, who also worked on the film, had been accused of and tried for rape when they were in college. And he was acquitted. He was found not guilty, and before his friend came to trial, the accuser committed suicide. So there was no trial. But in the eyes of the public, even though a jury of 12 people said he did not do it, he was still a rapist. And so they wrote rapist on, there was rapist on the posters for the film when it came out, and it came and went in a weekend. So, I don't know the specifics. I don't know if he did it or if he didn't do it, but where did we come to a place in this country where an accusation, if you're accused of something, it means you did it? And that's where it is that we are. And I'm real sensitive to this because I am an African-American male who grew up in a town that was 90% white. And all of my childhood, I was accused of doing shit I didn't do. Because all somebody to say was, the black kid did it. Oh, right. I saw him. And I'm talking about, this goes from being accused of drowning a neighbor, trying to drown a neighbor's cat in the apartment complex swimming pool when I was 8, up to being in my 20s and being accused of being positively identified from a photo lineup as a serial rapist who had been preying on women in the area. And thank God I had airtight alibis. There, 3 of the dates I was at gigs. And I tell you, the clubs, it was the Punchline, it was Rooster Teeth Feathers, and it was Foo Bars in Martinez. And if I had not had those alibis, that would have been my ass. Wow. So I have a real problem with, yeah, we can think and we can believe what we want to believe, but unless it's proven, and in this case, he went through a whole trial, and it come to find out that I always thought he got off because of celebrity, because of who he was, and that's not why he got off. He got off because the accuser's family had a history of making false allegations. So the jury did not find them credible. Now, does that mean he wasn't telling the truth in this instance? No, doesn't mean that at all. Does it mean the others aren't telling the truth? Not at all. But what I'm saying is, we all believe it. I mean, even if he didn't do it, it's still weird. Why would you want to be sleeping with a kid? Even if he didn't do it, it's still weird. It's still wrong. Yep. It's still wrong. But anyway, so I just have an issue with, when you're accused of something, you did it because you're accused, or because multiple people accused you of it, then you're guilty and you did it.
Multiple people matters. Multiple people
accused me of serial rape. Multiple people. And
that's why we're going to be taking another hard look at that. Hey,
I shouldn't say excuse me, but they looked at a photo lineup. They had my picture from the DMV, and they picked me out twice, and I had nothing to do with it. And I don't know if they ever caught the guy or not who actually did it. I have no idea.
Didn't this the director of this Michael Jackson film, is it the director or producer who also did the Bohemian Rhapsody? Freddie Mercury biopic.
I think it's the producer, and Mike Myers is in it as a
really?
I think it's CBS Records executive.
But slightly different case, but a lot of this sort of criticism was leveled against the Bohemian Rhapsody movie because people wanted it to bring up more dirt and more about his salacious lifestyle, and they wanted to see more of this other. And so even though it's not anything like rape accusations and child molestation, there were very similar criticisms about people hated it because, it's just this dumb biopic that's only celebrating the positive. But as you say that, it's like, yeah, well, I mean, we don't want to make this dirt movie. We just want to celebrate this guy.
It's about the music is what it's about,
Yeah.
And these kinds of things. It's not a documentary. And I will tell you, if I knew that they were going to heavily delve into the allegations, I wouldn't have gone to see it because probably about the last 10 or 12 years or so, I've gotten to where I will not see movies where people are hurting people. I won't see Holocaust movies. I won't see slavery movies. I mean, I've grown up seeing all the adaptations, all that stuff. And I walked out of the theater after 12 years a slave, I think it was, and thought, you know what? I don't want to see this stuff anymore. Right. Why am I spending money to spend 2, or in these cases, 3 hours on some of these films? It's just that I read enough about people hurting people, when I'm looking at the news and stuff. I just don't want to see that anymore. I mean, cinema can do a lot of different things. It can educate, it can make you feel something, but at its core, I believe cinema should be about escapism. Like people like Scorsese trash superhero movies and Avengers movies and Marvel movies and stuff because they're not cinema. Well, it's escapism. What's wrong with, going in and sitting in the dark and escaping for a couple of hours? So anyway, that's my diatribe. That's my diatribe. All right, so it is or is not it is an endorsement. You're saying it is an if you go and you see this movie or support this movie, it is in fact an endorsement of pedophilia and of child rape and child molestation. Okay, Ron, you say no.
No, I mean, how is it any different though than just listening to his music or going to something that, or having old memorabilia of his T-shirts that you wear, or going like to the Las Vegas show where they have Michael Jackson? Like it's not, and I do believe in what you're saying. The accuser is the key word, and we could all have our own opinions, but it is accuser. And I feel like this is all selective too, because I really didn't think about it from your perspective until you started talking about it. And then where do we get the point that because you're accused, you're automatically guilty? And you know, and that is true. And I didn't, until you tell your story of thing, I didn't really even think about it in that perspective. And that is true unless you're dealing with somebody like Trump, that if you're accused, it's all fake, you know, which is highly annoying. But no, I don't think it is an endorsement. I mean, there is a legacy of music, and you know, with him, and I think that's just what it is. If you grew up listening to the music, and you grew up with the Jackson Five and the whole family, you know, that's all it is to me. You know, and you can make your decision to go or not go, and somebody else can make the decision to go or not go, and that's it at the end of the day.
My thoughts exactly.
I'm not sure I have a solid answer, but I have thought for years that it's peculiar that there are people that have broken from artists and will never consume their art anymore. Yeah, or Woody Allen. There are people that are like so dead set against people because of accusations or crimes. Louis C.K., Woody Allen, whoever. But I've thought for years that Michael Jackson kind of gets a pass. A lot of those same people, they don't want to give up their Michael Jackson music because it meant too much to them, and they didn't easily break. They could give up Louis C.K. and Woody Allen, but they didn't want to give up Michael Jackson.
Especially black people.
Yeah. And I don't think it's an endorsement to go. I don't think it's an endorsement. You know, I have a trans son. I don't think it's an endorsement of being anti-trans to watch the new Harry Potter series if you're into Harry Potter. But I do believe it is intellectually dishonest to not acknowledge that the creator of that has some real vile opinions about the world that maybe have nothing to do with Harry Potter, but I don't think that we should give the artist a pass simply because they are brilliant.
All right, so do you not listen to Wagner?
Of course I don't listen to Wagner. I live in the 21st century. Who the hell listens to Wagner?
Don't listen to any classical music. I can give that up.
What? I'm out mowing the lawn listening to Wagner?
For a run, for an afternoon run, listening to Wagner. Oh God, you guys are killing me. You guys are absolutely killing me. You're laying me out. But yeah, you know, there. W. Kamau Bell, who does this podcast, is he posted on Sunday night. He posted on Threads, white people, when you go to work tomorrow. I'm paraphrasing here. He said that when you go to work tomorrow, just, you know, be careful what you say about the Michael Jackson movie around black people. It doesn't matter what your opinion is, just, you know, for tomorrow, just because Michael Jackson means a lot to people of color. He does. You know, those of us who watched him grow up from the time, you know, he was, you know, what was he, 8 years old, 10 years old, singing with the Jackson 5, and on 4, he was the soundtrack of our youth. And we've seen, to a lot of black people, it's a lot. They look at him as a good man who was torn down, and I'm not going to go that far at all. Right. But so he posts this, and all these white people just jumped all over him. You can't tell me what to say. Oh, you know, I supported your career all this time. Now you're going to tell me I can't talk about. And he goes, "This is exactly my point."
Right.
Yeah. Hey, but exactly coming from W. Kamau Bell, who I believe produced a multi-part documentary about Bill Cosby.
It won. I think he won a Peabody for that, and he deserved it. It was great.
It was great.
Did you see it? It was great.
Oh, yeah.
It was thorough. It was in depth. He did a wonderful job directing and producing that documentary.
And I grew up on Cosby's early albums. Cosby was a fantastic comedian, right? He, in many ways, was one of those early inspirations for me as a young comic, right? it does not take away from the fact that he is a despicable human being.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Now, see, I don't know if you, well, I know Ron knows this. For the last 10 years of his career, up until about 6 months before the bottom fell out, anytime he came to the Bay Area, I either introduced him or I opened for him. One of the two.
Cool.
He'd come 2 or 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I never saw anything because I never saw him outside
Right.
of the theater ever. I never saw him outside of the theater. But I can attest to, his comedic genius, even seeing it, because all the times I work with him, he would do 2 hours every time. And I never heard him do the same bit twice. I never heard him do the same bit twice. He'd come out, he would sit in a chair, in an easy chair, and he had a table with a glass of water on it and a box of Kleenex and a trash can. He'd blow his nose and sit there and just go for 2 hours. And it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Now, is it hard for me to watch or listen to him now? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like I was watching The Naked Gun, oh God, maybe a couple of months ago, and I hadn't seen The Naked Gun since it came out. And it was hard to find it funny because you might be into it. And then as soon as OJ popped up, took you out of it. Completely took you out of it.
Yeah.
That was one of the things somebody said.
But that didn't happen with the biopic, the Michael Jackson.
No, because you can't look at OJ without thinking of the murders. You cannot. I can look at Michael Jackson and not think child molester.
Did they serve Jesus juice at the Michael Jackson movie?
Matter of fact, they did, but it was too expensive at the snack bar, so I couldn't go for it. I paid $25 for popcorn already, so for the small popcorn. So that takes us to the end here. Anything anybody wants to plug? What's going on? Nobody's playing anywhere? Nothing.
No, I'm still making appearances on the History Channel on this Dan Aykroyd hosted show called The Unbelievable.
Cool.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, because you commented on that. Because I after I saw the movie on Saturday, I've been going down a Michael Jackson rabbit hole. So I got to We Are the World, and there's a great documentary that's called The Greatest Night in Pop. And I'm watching it, and I forgot Dan Aykroyd's in We Are the World. And it's like, it's Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Smokey Robinson, Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder, Dionne Warwick, Ray Charles, and Dan Aykroyd. Which of these things is not like the other?
But I said, one half of the Blues Brothers, but not on the same level.
Yeah. So I wondered, they didn't address it in that documentary, why he was in it. And people have since told me that apparently Brooke Shields was in it too. I never saw her on camera. But Brooke Shields was in it, and somebody else who was like, "What the hell are they doing there?" was in it. So you're actually working with Aykroyd, or are you doing post stuff? And
no,
he's already
all of us are shot individually against green screens, so I never got to meet him or anything. Unfortunately, because I think that would, because I grew up with the original SNL.
So did I. Mm-hmm. Well, you do meet him asking for me. Well, what the hell was he doing at We Are the World? It was nice that did it.
I know that is a good question.
It was a very kind thing that he spent his time. He didn't have to, and it was all
ask him about UFOs and why are you in We Are the World?
Yes, unsolved mysteries. Ron, anything you want to mention, bud?
I have things. I can't remember any of them without opening up my calendar. So just look at me online. VIGH. Find me on social media, and you could find out where I'm going to be there.
Well, we'll have all of your social media, by the way, on in the show notes. Your websites and how to connect with you.
One little thing. Yeah, I'm coming to the Bay Area in a couple weeks on May 16th. In Saratoga at college there. I'm participating I'll be performing at a science festival, Steamed Fest. In Saratoga.
What fest?
STEAM. You've heard STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, and then people like to put an A in there for art, STEAM. So STEAM Fest.
So what? Now tell me, what kind of material do you do in front of that crowd?
Oh, science geeky jokes. I used to be an astronomer, but I got stuck on the day shift. That sucks. Science jokes. They're not all dad jokes.
Funny. I'm sorry, that's funny. And are they receptive crowds?
Oh yeah. I mean, the funny
At
thing is
Steam Fest?
years,
Of course.
years before I came up with the phrase science comedian, I was doing these geeky jokes in nightclubs. So where they were not always met with the same response. But at a science festival, it's such a perfect audience. People of all ages. I don't early on, somebody once asked me, "Oh, science comedian, so you teach kids about science with stand-up comedy?" And it's like, oh no, like if you're a geek, I'll make you laugh. Very different. So my ideal audience isn't children, but
I can vouch that I knew open mic Brian Mallow back at the Houston Laugh Stop, and you were every bit the dork then as well.
yeah, thank you. I think.
Hey, I'm coming out to the Bay Area in June for the first time in a few years. That's where I grew up, in San Bruno. I have an event at San Quentin, actually, at the end of June. So
At San Quentin.
An event, yes. But
I'll be coming,
hopefully coming through to do some sets, because it's been quite a while since my family has seen me perform out there. So looking forward to coming out.
You ever been to Q before?
Many times. I've hosted a number of writing workshops there. When I lived in California, I was there all the time. I've probably been there a dozen times. Was working with the writers group there is called Brothers in Pen. And I've done some workshops with them, and a number of the guys who have since been released are some of my very closest friends now.
I will be very nice to you from this point forward. Absolutely. Very, very kind to you. I've been to San Quentin once, and that was, I did a part in Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. And they shot the prison scene with Woody Harrelson as Carnage at San Quentin. I was at San Quentin on Valentine's Day.
Well,
it was the best Valentine's Day I ever had. And I was at San Quentin. The thing that just stuck out to me about it most is that they have a gift shop.
They do.
They do. I swear to God. They got, and somebody asked me, what's in the gift shop? Calendars? I mean, what is?
Is that for inmates when they're released?
Art
they have
made
to go
by
through
the incarcerated men. Actually, there.
I'm sorry.
There's some cool art made by the men incarcerated there that you can get in the gift shop. I have a few things.
Okay. Well, there's the formerly incarcerated people's project, formerly incarcerated persons project, is a theater group that is so you're familiar with them. I produce a solo show series every year in the East Bay, and I had them last season, and they're going to come back next season. But it's amazing how much talent.
Wow, I'm gonna have to check out that gift shop, because maybe I can find something to go along with my John Wayne Gacy collection of paintings.
See, that's the joke. The two jokes that are going around is that when they're making a John Wayne Gacy movie, it is going to concentrate on his career as a clown, and the other one is the OJ movie that ends right after he wins the Heisman. All right, Brian Mallow, Ron Vine, welcome back. I hope you come back again, Ron. It's been a while. It's good to see you. And Mike Larson. I hope we didn't get you in any trouble at Ohio State. I hope that we didn't.
No.
Okay.
I know what not to say.
Good. All right, well, that's gonna do it for this week. If you like what it is that you watched here on YouTube, please make sure that you click like and that you subscribe. If you are listening to us, please make sure that you like and subscribe, and please we go to your podcast provider page to leave reviews and leave us a 5-star review. It helps people to find the show. So as I've been saying for the last 5-6 months, we'll see you next week if we are still here next week. Till then, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live. And being live, guys, we have to let ourselves out. So thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.